Hello guys, welcome to this Arnold rendering techniques tutorial. So we'll talk about some of the things we can use in Arnold renderer to help enhance and tweak your render. So what we have now is a scene with just a floor and a wall with two lights, a environment light and a rectangular light. That's all we have. Okay, and some basic model here. Basically, we have a painting shelf, the frame, and that little palette. Okay, cool. So with that set up, and also some basic materials. Oh, by the way, the materials, right? So we have floor material, wall, shelf, canvas, and the painting palette. For the floor material, and almost all the material is gonna have the same setup. We have the floor material, which is AI standard surface, and they have the normal map connected to it. Okay, and then they have the roughness map connected to specular roughness. They have the base color, and it's multiplied by the AO, and that goes to the base color. Although the AO is shifted a little bit in the color balance, you can see it's shifted up so that it's not super dark. And also some of the material we have a displacement map applied based on the head map, just to be really clear that if you want to use height map, make sure that you save it as .xr from Substance Designer or Painter. Otherwise, you got stared kind of like effect. Okay, so make sure that this one is at least 16-bit AXR file. The others are supposed to be okay as they are as TGA, right? Just don't forget also for the normal guidelines, general guidelines for textures from substance. Anything that is not the color, you should change it to raw as the color space settings. So metallic is raw, base color is sRGB, AO is sRGB, but everything else, including the normal and height map, they're all raw data. Okay, make sure that you have these set up. Okay, you don't really need to have the AI multiply to multiply the AO with the base color. It's not mandatory. Okay, and basically everything here is following the guideline from the Substance's official documentation about how to plug in the textures in Arnold renderer. Anyway, so that's some basic explanation on what's already in here. Let me hit play here. I actually hit render here to start a render. And let's see what we got. Okay, so this is how the scene looks like. Okay, it's just one really lonely little shelf. You know what? I think I want more, so I'm gonna stop that and then grab the guys here. I have a group, so I can grab that group and Control D to have a copy. Maybe position one over here, and then this one can be over here. All right, that feels better. Cool. So anyway, so let's go ahead and start doing one more render and take a look. So although we have everything here, all the materials are from Substance Designer or Painter, but still there are some things I don't quite like. The problem is no matter what your situation is, it's always going to be a little different. Like in Painter, I'm pretty sure that I didn't make this shelf to look this dark. And I'm also pretty sure I didn't make this concrete that shiny. Okay, I did a lot of testing, and my conclusion is it should have the same roughness more or less, but that has to be in the same lighting condition. So lighting condition, even though PBR is supposed to be compatible with all the different lighting setup, but it is still kind of like affects your feeling when you're building that material. If you have different lightings, it's just gonna look different. Okay, so because of that, it's not gonna be 100% guaranteed that your material setup in Substance can transfer over and get exactly the same results. One more thing I do discover is that also even you get the same lighting condition, you get the same material, same textures plugged into Arnold, there will be a slight difference, especially for the highlight. Software renderers turns to be able to actually capture the shape of the light, so it does have a very defined highlight. Well, in Substance Designer's viewport, this part is missing. Okay, everything else is the same. This part is missing. Okay, so that So that's definitely gonna make things look different. Okay. Anyway, so with that being said, let's talk about how we can then tweak it here, right, to make it looks good inside of our renderer. So one thing I was talking about is the shelf is too dark. So I'm gonna go to the shelf material, zoom in, you can see that's basically the same setup. We have the base color here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go move the base color up. I'm gonna do something to it. Okay, so for the base color, I kind of wanted to crank it up. And in Maya, luckily, we have a node called remap HSV. Okay, now Arnold has something like that. If you download, there's like a Arnold shader lab somewhere. I just don't really use that because it just doesn't it's not packaged with Maya in the default settings, and it's getting outdated, and it stops updating. So at some point, I think we will have to drop it anyways. Anyway, let me just gonna drag this guy over to the color here. So this is gonna connect our art color from the base color to the remap. Okay, all right. Let me grab the shelf material and minimals drag it to the color. Okay, so now we packed in one more node in the middle. Okay, so now what I can do is I grab that remap HSV or just remap hue, saturation, and value. I can then crank up the value. So if I just drag that little dot up, you can see I'm basically making the color of the shelf brighter. Okay, so this is very important. No matter how good it is in Substance Designer, it's not gonna be perfect in your rendering package. So you have to set up some controls to offset the color, the value you're getting to get the desired result. I can even change the hue here. If I drag this hue up just a little bit, this is actually a little bit sensitive, so I don't want it to change too much. But it's good to have some differentiation from the floor color and the shelf color, so I think I like that. Maybe 0.04 instead of 6. I don't want it to be looking like green or something like that. Maybe I can lower down the saturation just a little bit, so it's a little bit more grayed out. Cool. You can see how much power we have now inside of the renderer. Okay, and what's important here is what's really bothering artists all the time is what you see is not what you get. Okay, but here you're in the final rendering package. What you see is what you get. So that's why this method is still really valuable. Okay. Anyway, so let's move on to maybe I don't like the roughness there, right? So I'm gonna go try to do that. Go to the wall material. Okay, I'm gonna say, okay, roughness, you are too strong. Okay, in some situations like this, instead of tweaking it by using a remap, because remap has more things, we have done not just the brightness, we changed the color, we changed the saturation. But for a simple value, if you want to just offset it, you can go grab the node itself. Underneath color balance, you can actually tweak it here. So you can say, okay, I can change color again to lower it down to make it more shiny. Doesn't really see that much. Maybe we change offset to offset it up to make it a little bit more rougher. Okay, sometimes it doesn't update. So I'm gonna say, let me ask the renderer to update the full scene. That should force it to try to update it. Okay, it's still not doing much. Let me try crank that up to really high. You know what? It's not working here in this case. So I'm gonna lower that down to 0 and color again to 0. I'm gonna do it myself here using again remap. It should work, but it doesn't work sometimes. I'm not sure why. Anyway, so it's always sometimes I just not sure what's going on. Maybe that's because we're using alpha. Maybe that's the case. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, one thing that is really annoying to me is that Maya uses alt alpha to connect to the value if it's only requiring a float value. So that's why. So yeah, you can do it here. You just need to offset the alpha in this case. Anyway, maybe I don't need that anymore. So you can see now we are able to use that. Oh, so one more thing. If you feel like your viewport is not reacting to you quick enough because of the rendering is too demanding, you can go to the renderer and tell it to give your UI 3 thread for just navigating the UI. Then your experience will be much smoother. Okay, anyway, so now we can offset the alpha, right, to make it rougher or not as rough. So if that's just a single value, and Maya uses the default setting to connect alpha, and by the way, if you are connecting like this, the alpha is luminous, have to be checked now. Okay, so now if I just drag the alpha, I can tweak the roughness to make it rougher if I wanted to. Okay, because I don't want it to be that shiny. All right, so that's one thing we can do to make it looks you know, way closer to what I get from Substance. I'm pretty sure that's what I get from Substance. Let's take a look. So in Substance, I'm gonna go open my materials. Probably need to stop Maya. Pause this guy. All right, so if I go to my concrete material, you can kind of like see, let me change it to like a sphere or sphere 2 tile. You can see, well, I kind of want it to be shiny like this, but I don't really want it to be as shiny as what I have earlier in Maya, right? So what you get here, unfortunately, is not going to be what you get in the final package. On some level, it's always going to be a little different. Let me tile it a little bit more. You can see I'm demanding a lot of variations here also when I'm building this material for the roughness. And back here to Maya, when I'm rendering it, I'm seeing the variations. I see that part, this white area is getting more rougher. That's what's happening here, right? So the information is there. It just somehow shifted. So you can see now after I tweak it, the reflection is still there. It feels more like I'm defining here instead of Substance, right? Okay, so yeah, that's just something we have to fight to get the final result. So that's why it's really important. Okay. Anyway, so let's move on to the next video. Then we can talk about some extra fun things we can do in the shader graph here inside of Maya to further enhance our graphic. Okay, cool. See you next time.